Today we're going to do a nice mat flow with some light weights. So that's all you're going to need for yourselves is a mat and 2 light weights. You can decide what weight you want. It can go anywhere from 0.5 up to 2s. I've got 1.5s today, but I'm just going to leave that up to you guys. You know what works best for your body. If you don't have any light weights at home, that's fine. You can also make use of canned goods as well as 2 water bottles filled with water. If you guys are ready, we're going to go ahead and get started. Just keep your light weights nearby. We're going to first start ourselves off with a roll down. You can bring it up into standing on your mat. Feet and knees directly underneath the hips. Knees are nice and soft. Engage the core. Slide those ribs down towards the front pockets. Reach the arms up with a nice big inhale. On your exhale, the arms draw down to your sides. You nod your chin into your chest and we roll down. Nice, slow and controlled. Rounding the back as much as possible. Knees remain nice and soft. Keep the weight in the heels. Inhale and exhale to bring it all the way back up. Stack vertebra by vertebra, bringing yourself all the way back into that neutral posture. Core remains engaged. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Chin nods in. And again, we roll down. Focus on the exhale this time for me. Squeeze all the air out of the lungs. Close down the rib cage. Draw the core in nice and tight. As your fingertips reach your toes of the mat, big inhale, long controlled exhale as we return all the way back up. And again, last little bit of air is exiting the lungs only as you roll through shoulders, neck and head. Inhale, feel the rib cage expand for me. Exhale, arms down, chin nods in, and we roll down for the last time here. Bringing it all the way down. Fingertips reach onto the toes or the mat. You deepen the bend in your knees. You're going to bring the knees down onto the mat and press yourself back into a child's pose. You can bring it back up for me. We're going to start with some arm work today, and because of that, I want us to make sure that we've got all of our scapular depressors and stabilizers firing to make sure that we keep out of those upper traps. So we're going to get that activation in 4-point kneeling today, and then we're going to take it into the arm work. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips, neutral pelvis for me. Lift the belly button up away from the mat. I want you to make sure, especially from the waist down, that you remain neutral. So we're not going to be moving or working into that lower back, only focusing on that mid to upper back. Right, from here, inhale to prepare. On your exhale, you are going to press your chest up away from the mat as much as you can. Think of rounding that back to the ceiling. Slide those shoulder blades apart, thinking of almost sliding them down underneath the armpits. So our serratus, this muscle here that goes from the side of the scapula down underneath the armpit, is currently engaged. From here, what we want to do is engage those lower traps as well. So that's roughly that mid to upper back section there. You're going to inhale to prepare. Exhale, keep pressing up away from the floor, and to get that back to flatten out, you're going to think of sliding the shoulder blades down the back. Inhale to release. Let's try that 4 more times. We exhale, press up away from the mat, round the back up to the ceiling as much as you can, and then keeping that activation of the serratus. Engage those mid to lower traps for me as well. Slide the shoulders down the back, and take note, my lower back is not moving at all. My pelvis is not shifting. It's staying completely neutral. Shake it out. I'm only working with that mid to upper back. Inhale. Exhale, press up away from the floor. Put a lot of weight towards the pinky and ring finger for me if you're not feeling that serratus engaged just yet. Then slide the shoulders down the back and inhale, release and shake it out. 1 more. Exhale, press up, round that back up to the ceiling as much as you can. Slide the shoulders down the back. It should feel really active and really strong. And then press back into a child's pose to relax. Trying to be mindful of those muscles that we just activated. We're going to bring it back up into standing. You're going to grab a hold of your light weights for me. Standing in a nice neutral posture once again. Feet and knees underneath the hips. Knees are nice and soft. Neutral pelvis. Slide those ribs down towards the front of your hips for me. We're going to reach the arms out to the side. Keep the palms facing up. Shoulders back and down. Keep those lower traps firing for me. Keep the serratus engaged. The back is broad and strong, and you shouldn't feel like those shoulders are creeping into your ears. We're going to start off just with a light bicep curl, keeping those elbows lifted in line with the shoulders as much as possible. You curl the arms in towards the head and back out. You're either using water bottles or cans of food. If you don't have either, you're going to create your own resistance here. We're going for 8 more. And 7, for 6,
and 5. Be very mindful of that scapular depression and stabilization for me. Last 3, and for 2. Last 1, you're going to hold it here for me, and we're going to go into scapular protraction and retraction. Keeping the palms facing in towards you, you're going to bring those arms to the front. Try and lead with those elbows as well, squeezing those elbows in towards the center of the chest, and then reach it back out. And you're going to feel those shoulder blades slide apart and squeeze together as you move your arms from the front of you to the side of you. We're going for 8 more, and for 7, keep those shoulders nice and high. For 6, stay in that neutral pelvis. For 5, and for 4, keep the shoulders out the ears. For 3 more, and for 2, last 1. You're going to keep yourself neutral, keep those arms up, turn the palms to face me. We're going for an overhead press. Press the arms up overhead, reaching them only as long and as high as you can without the shoulders creeping into the ears and without your ribs popping. Keep pulling those ribs down towards the front pockets of the pants for me. We're going for 8 more, and 7, lengthen through the crown of the head. For 6, and 5, last 4, and 3, for 2, and 1. Bend those elbows back to 90 degrees, keeping that bend in the elbows. We're going to draw those elbows down towards our sides. Squeeze those arms into the sides. Feel your lats turn on. We're going to reach those arms back overhead, keeping that degree of bend in the elbow and back down to the sides. Alternate which arm is reaching to the front and which arm is reaching to the back. We're going for 8 more, and 7, for 6, and 5, last 4, and 3, for 2, last 1. You're going to bring those arms back up for me. Turn the palms to face in towards you. We start again. We're going to go through this series 3 times, and we're going to add an exercise each time. Again, starting with our protraction and retraction. We go in and out. Don't forget about those elbows. Don't let them wave out to the side as you bring those arms in. Palms are facing towards you the whole time. For 5 more, and 4, last 3, and 2, last 1. You're going to take those arms out to the sides. Turn your palms to face forward. Keep your wrists strong. We do overhead press for 10, and 9, 8, and 7. Keep the core tight. 6. Feel that mid to up back firing, keeping the shoulders out of the ears. For 4 more, and 3, for 2, last 1. 90-degree bend in the elbow. Elbows go into the sides and then reach overhead. For 10, and 9, for 8, and 7. Squeeze those arms down to the sides. For 6 more, and 5, 4, and 3, for 2, last 1. Your elbows go down into your sides. Turn the palms to face the ceiling. Bring those arms to your midline. Your elbows should be just in the front of the rib cage here. Without your elbows leaving your rib cage for me, you're going to externally rotate those arms out to the sides as far as you can. Open to stretch the chest. Keep the shoulders out of the ears, and inhale to bring it back. We go for 10, and 9, 8, and 7, for 6, and 5, 4 more, and 3. You should really feel those delts. For 2, last 1. Hold it out to the side for me. Lift those arms back up. We start again. Here we go. Protraction and retraction for 10, and 9. Elbows up. 8, 7. Shoulders out the ears. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold it out for me. Turn the palms to face forward, pressing overhead. Feel those shoulders working. For 9 more, and 8, for 7, and 6. Stay neutral. For 5, and 4, for 3, and 2. Last 1. 90-degree bend in those elbows. You bring the elbows to the sides. We reach overhead. For 10, and 9, 8, and 7. For 6 more, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Elbows into the side. Turn the palms to face up. Bring those arms into your midline. Externally rotate. For 10, and 9, 8, and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, one. You're going to hold those arms in the midline for me. Turn your palms in to face one another. Going into working our triceps here, I want you to lean slightly forward. Pull the shoulders down the back. Keep the chest nice and open. Keep lifting the belly button up away from the floor. Only extending at the elbow. We shoot those arms back. Lift the arms as high as you can. Draw that tricep up towards the top of the shoulder for me. And inhale to bend. No movement in the shoulder here. We stabilize at the shoulders and we're just bending and extending at the elbows. Keep the chest lifted. I don't want any turtle shells there with shoulders creeping into the ears. You're not going to feel the work. We're going for 8 more. 7, 6. You hold it for a beat. 5 and 4, 3 and 2. Last one. Hold it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring those arms in. Lift them up. We start again. Last time here. Woo. Arms should be burning. Here we go. In and out for 10 and 9, for 8 and 7, 6 more, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Keep those arms out to the side. Palms face forward. Strong wrists. Press overhead for 10 and 9. Last set. 8. Give it your roll. 7. No breaks. 6. 5. Whenever you're working with light weights, you want high repetition to get that work going through the arms. Last 2. Last 1. From here, we're going to take those elbows down to our sides and reach overhead for 10 and 9, 8 and 7, 6 more, 5. Don't give up. 4. It's the last round. 3. Keep breathing. 2, 1. Elbows into the sides. Bring them into your midline. Palms facing up. And we externally rotate. Open those arms. Stretch the chest. Slide those scapulas together. Pinching them together for me at the back. We go for 8 more. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it to the midline. Turn those palms to face forward. You lean forward, sit into the glutes, lift the belly button from the floor, and we extend for 10. Only from the elbow. 9. Open the chest for 8 more. 7. Remember to hold for a beat. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep those arms long. Bring them forward. We're going to go into a back fly here. Keeping the body on that same angle. Keeping the chest open. The shoulders out of the ears. We open those arms back for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 more, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can bring those arms down to the front for me. From here, you can extend the legs, tuck the tailbone, roll down. Keep those weights nearby and bring it down. Right, you can turn it over to be seated on your buttocks, and then we're going to lie over on the back. And we're going to start with some core work. Lying on the back, we're going to start off by finding a nice neutral posture. So you want to make sure you're pulling those ribs in towards one another and down towards those hips again. And you should feel that mid to upper back anchor down into the mat for me. Make sure that you're keeping those shoulders up in line with your ears. So I don't want your shoulders pinning you down to the floor. Keep them relaxed and in line with the ears. Arms are long down by the sides. So I have my forearm and my elbows resting on the mat, but I don't have my triceps and the humerus resting down on the mat and pinning me to the mat. The more you push the shoulders down into the mat, the harder it is to keep that rib control. So relax the shoulders and let the core do the work here. Ribs go in and down. 90% of the time people go into a posterior tilt these days normally. So we want to try and combat that. We want to feel the length of the abdominals by going into a nice neutral pelvis. So you're going to go from pressing that back down in a posterior tilt. I want you to keep the ribs in, and I want you to think of just pressing the spine of the coccyx down onto the mat. So we're not arching the back.
There's an arch, so you see when I go into that anterior tilt, inevitably the ribs tend to pop, the upper back lifts away from the floor, and I'm pushing my tailbone right down into that mat. You don't want to be pushing the tailbone down into the mat, you just want to feel the spine of that coccyx resting in the mat. There should be millimeters between your lower back and the mat. From there, we're going to bring the arms down onto the mat. Chin is turned into your chest. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Compress. Remember, whenever we're warming up that TA, whenever we're working that TA, it's done in compression, not flexion. Using our breathing, you inhale to prepare. On the exhale, pull those ribs together down towards the hip and then sink the belly button to the spine without imprinting your back in the mat, and lift the one leg to tabletop. Breath is very important. Our breathing is going to help us here with these movements. Inhale and exhale. Compress. Deep drawing in. Lift the opposite leg to tabletop. We are looking for stability over the top of the ribs and in the pelvis as we do our single leg lowers. So without the ribs popping up to the ceiling and without your pelvis shifting posteriorly and anteriorly, we're going to inhale to prepare, and exhale, we are going to lower the one leg down towards the floor. Inhale back and exhale to change over for 2. Inhale back and exhale. Draw the belly button to the spine, and you should feel that beautiful internal corset tightening all the way up around the sides, around the tips of the ribs, and making sure that that pelvis is not shifting at all. We're going for last 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 for 2 more. And last time, last side. Point those toes so you're working the arches for me. There's still fist space between the feet and the knees. Inhale, exhale. Again, pull in and lower both legs as low as you can without losing that neutral posture, and bring it back. Belly button sinks to the spine as we lower, and you should feel a nice little quiver happen there if you're doing this correctly. If you're starting to feel your hip flexors or you're feeling your lower back, remember you can always bring your thumbs underneath that tailbone, so you just prop it underneath the pelvis to help keep the stability in the pelvis as you lift and lower the legs. You can also use your mat here, bringing it up underneath the pelvis. You can see it just gives me a little bit of assistance there, and I don't feel my hip flexors or my back anymore. Otherwise, just try and make the movement a little bit smaller. Let's go for last 3 and for 2. Don't lose your compressing. Last 1, you're going to bring those feet down onto the mat. Circle the hands around behind the head for me. Elbows in peripheral vision. So once again, we don't have those shoulders pinning us down to the mat. We still want to keep that rib control. Inhale, keeping your pelvis neutral. Exhale, lift head, neck, and shoulders. Compress. Draw that belly button towards the spine. Make sure that you're not going into that posterior tilt and allowing your hip flexors to take over. Inhale to lower back down. Let's go for 9 more. And for 8. 7. Keep that stability in the pelvis. For 6. Try to lift and hinge from the ribs. 5. And 4, that's your movement point. 3, everything below the ribs is stable. For 2, last 1, you're going to hold it nice and high, balancing on the tips of the shoulders here for me, and we're going to go into some lateral flexion. If you want to bring your feet a little bit closer for this next one, because it makes your pelvis feel a little bit more stable, you're welcome to do so. From here, you're going to reach your right elbow down towards your right hip. Your eye line is looking straight past the left leg there for me. Keep the height of the shoulders as you inhale through center and exhale onto the opposite side. Make sure you are not rotating here. You are literally doing a lateral flexion. So you're just flexing from the one side to the opposite side for last 5 and 4, for 3, and you should feel those obliques turning on, for 2, and last time, last side, bring it to center for me. Now we're going to add that rotation. So now my right elbow is going to twist and reach over towards my left knee, just looking past that left leg. Inhale to center. Keep the height to the shoulders, and exhale to change over. Inhale and exhale for 3 and 4. For 5, your pelvis should not be moving. For 6, it should still be neutral. For 7, I'm twisting only at the waist. For 8. And for 9, Last time, last side for 10. And inhale to bring it to center. From here, keep head, neck, and shoulders up for me. We're going to stretch that left leg out nice and long. You're going to reach those arms back in line with your ears. So we're going to do a modified single leg stretcher. If you can, lift that leg to hover. Keep the height of the shoulders. Don't let those shoulders drop down as you reach those arms in line with your ears. You're going to reach the arms up overhead as you bring that leg into tabletop, taking a hold of either the knee or the shin. Roll down nice, slow and controlled. Reach those arms up. Keep the tips of the shoulders up. We're going for 9 more. And for 8. 7. And for 6. Last 5. And for 4. 3 more. And for 2. Last 1. You're going to take it down for me. Slide that leg and keep those arms up, extending the opposite leg out. Inhale and exhale. Here we go. Onto the other side for 10. And bring it back. 9. Don't drop those shoulders. For 8. Still compressing. For 7. Keep that pelvis neutral as you go down. For 6. And 5. 4 more. And 3. For 2. Last 1. From here, we're going to stretch that leg out to hover above the mat, arms in line with the ears. You're going to lower it down onto the floor, keeping it long. Stretch the other leg out to join it. Inhale to prepare. On the exhale, you're going to lift yourself up, bringing that left leg into tabletop. You're going to rotate, reaching the arms past that leg. Make sure your pelvis isn't shifting here for me. You inhale to bring it back. Arms reach again, back overhead, keeping those shoulders up, and we repeat onto the opposite side. However, even though we're doing single alternating legs here, we are not going to do single counts. We're going to do double counts. So 1 to the left and 1 to the right is going to count as 1. We go for 3 and change. For 4 and change. For 5 and change. Shoulders up. For 6 and we change. For 7 and we change. For 8, keep those shoulders high. And for 9, make sure you're breathing. Last time, each side for 10. You're going to bring it all the way down, hands behind the head for me. Slide those legs back, keeping your pelvis nice and neutral. We're going to float those legs up into tabletop. From here, we're going to go for a modified single leg stretch. You're going to inhale to prepare. Exhale, stretch the one leg out just to hover above the mat if you can. Circle those arms around and up to tap underneath the tabletop leg. Again, we're going to alternate legs here. Bring it down, leg goes back to tabletop, and we change onto the opposite side. And bring it down. Are you ready for a double up? Here we go. For 10 and change. For 9 and change. For 8 and change. For 7 and change. 6 to go. And 5. If you're struggling to keep the legs at a hover, you can bring them down onto the floor. For 4. And 3, and 2, last 1 each side. Bring those legs to tabletop, hands behind the head, lower head, neck and shoulders. Keep those legs in a strong tabletop. If you are struggling here and you feel those hip flexors in your back, again, feel free to bring that mat underneath the tailbone. From here, we're going to bring ourselves up, reaching both hands under both legs. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift head, neck and shoulders. And we go. Inhale and exhale. Lift and tap underneath those tabletop legs and inhale back. Try to keep those legs as stable as possible. We're going for 8 more. And 7. For 6. Shoulders up. For 5. And 4. For 3 more. And for 2. And last 1. one. Bring the hands behind the head, lower head, neck, and shoulders. Going for our tabletop toe reaches here. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, you're going to lift head, neck, and shoulders. Bring those hands down by your sides to about a 45-degree angle. Inhale, and on the exhale, we stretch those legs out to 45 degrees, going from our tabletop chest lift here, reaching up for the toes. Tabletop toe reach, and inhale to bring it back. We go for 10, and inhale, 9, and inhale, for 8, and 7, for 6, and 5 more, and 4, for 3, and 2, last one. You can bring those legs back to tabletop, hug the knees into the chest, rest head, neck, and shoulders. From here, you're going to rock yourself up into seated. We're going to go into a C-curve exercise here. You're going to take a hold of a light weight. You're going to bring it between the feet. You're not holding onto it just yet. Weight is just resting between the feet. You should still have a fist space between the feet and the knees. We're going to lean ourselves back into a C-curve. And again, if you tend to struggle here with your lower back, so when you're in your C-curve, you can feel your lower back and your hip flexors kicking in. You can do two things. One is obviously to grab a rolled up mat or roll up your own mat, a rolled up towel, a cushion, and you bring it all the way up. You sit up nice and tall, up to where your tailbone is. Sit up nice and tall, and then you go into your C-curve, into that mat, into that cushion, or into the towel. All right, and that's just going to give you a little bit of support for those back. As well as you can extend the legs out nice and long in front of you if you tend to feel your hip flexors taking over. Going into rotation, we're going to have genie arms here. If you're feeling nice and strong and like you'd like to do this with your hands behind your head, you're welcome to do so. We're going to lean back into that C-curve. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, you're going to lift the one leg up without the pelvis shifting. We're going to rotate. And again, it's a double up count. We go for 10 and change, 9 and change, for 8 and 7, 6 more, and for 5, last 4, and for 3, don't lift and lower the chest, 2, keep your C-curve consistent, and last one, each side for me. You can bring it up. You're going to take a hold of that light weight between the feet. If you tend to struggle holding your bottle or your canned food or your light weight between your feet, these exercises can be done without it. Lying flat on the back once again, we're going to go into that neutral pelvis. If you struggle here with the added weight and you need to bring thumbs or a rolled up mat underneath your tailbone, feel free to do so. So all we're going to do here is just add a little bit of light resistance to that lower abdominal exercises. So head, neck, and shoulders down, neutral pelvis, legs are at a strong 90 degrees. All we're going to do is start here by lowering those legs down to hover above the mat and bring them back. Compress, deep drawing in, whew, and you should really feel those lower abdominals firing. You should feel those ribs shaking. We go for last 5, and 4, for 3, and 2, last one. We're going to add hip tips here. I'm just going to move the weight when I show you what we do with our hip tips. So with your hip tips neutral, the legs go down, you compress, you keep it neutral, bring it back, use those lower abdominals, belly button draws to spine, try to curl into that posterior tilt, lifting that tailbone up away from the floor, slowly release back to neutral, lower the legs back down, and we repeat. So that's what the movement then looks like when I put it in to full speed. You want to do this without your weight and be a little bit more mindful? You're welcome to. Inhale to prepare. Exhale. We dip those toes down. Neutral. Bring it back. Posterior tilt. We go for 9 more. And for 8. And 7. For 6. And 5. Last 4. And 3. And 2. Last 1. and you can take a hold of that weight and turn yourself into side lying for the next set of exercises. You're going to have your feet and your knees stacked, your hips are stacked for me. You're propping yourself up on your elbow or forearm. What a lot of people tend to do is they tend to roll over onto their hip bone. So you'll see what happens here now. As I roll over onto my hip bone, I drop this bottom oblique, and can you see how all that weight transfers over into my shoulder? What you want to do is you actually want to think of pushing your buttocks back, as though you want to draw your sit bones down onto the mat and lifting through this bottom oblique to keep that weight out of your shoulder. You also want to think of drawing your elbow down toward your hip. So I imagine I have a small ball between my elbow and my hip, and I'm trying to pull that elbow into that small ball to squish it against my hip. As you do that, you should feel again those muscles turning on underneath your armpit, giving strength and stability to that shoulder as you keep yourself propped up. Draw your belly button to your spine. Remember, when you turn on your TA, you automatically feel those obliques turn on. So compress, pull in, and feel those obliques fire for me to keep yourself in a nice, strong side lying position. You are then going to take a hold of your lightweight. If your bottle, your can, or your lightweight is not enough and you want to challenge yourself, you are more than welcome to use 2 weights together. For me, 1 is more than enough. Right, from here, we're going to start off. Top arm is going to take a hold of that weight. Elbow goes into the rib cage. You're going to drop that weight down towards your midline and just rotate it externally for me. Again, you're focusing on keeping that elbow in at the rib cage as you open and close. We're going for 8 more and 7. If the neck is sore, look down. For 6, keep both shoulders out of the ears. For 5. 4, stabilize through the trunk of the body. For 3 more. Last 2, last 1, you hold that rotation for me. You're going to turn your palm to face the front. Keep your wrist nice and strong, and we punch towards the ceiling. We go for 10 and 9, for 8, stay lifted. For 7, keep the core engaged. 6 and 5, 4 more and 3, for 2. Last 1, you keep that arm long for me. You're going to lower that arm down to hover above the floor, keeping both the shoulders out of the ears. Elbow is nice and soft, and we lift that arm back as though we're doing a single arm fly, reaching that arm just in line with the body. Don't take it back behind the body. We don't want that shoulder going into hyperextension, and you should really feel those delts firing here. Keep the shoulders out of the ears. Let's go for 5 more and 4. Stabilize through the trunk of the body. For 3 and for 2. Last 1, you're going to hold that arm at a hover. Hold it long, shoulders down, lift through the core, holding it. Last 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we lift and lower again, reversing those movements. For 10 and 9, for 8. If you weren't feeling those muscles before, you should be feeling them now. Last 6 and 5, 4 more, and for 3. Last 2, last 1, you hold that arm up, you tuck your elbow into your side, and you punch to the ceiling. Strong neutral wrist for me as you do this movement. Last 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 more, and 2. Last 1, bring your elbow into your side, rotate your palm to face. You drop that hand down into your midline. We externally rotate. Last time for 10 and 9, for 8 and 7, 6 more, stay lifted. For 5 and 4, 3 and 2. Last 1, you're going to bring that weight down onto the mat for me, using that top arm, giving this bottom resting arm a break. We're going to take that top arm, place it in front of us. You want to keep it about a hand space away from you, and sort of somewhere between the bottom of the chin and the top of the chest. The arm should be able to make a sharp 90-degree angle as we go into the next exercise. I just slide my legs apart and stagger them slightly for this exercise, keeping this bottom oblique lifted. You're going to take that bottom resting arm, reaching it up onto the shoulder or underneath the armpit, and we're going to bend that supporting arm now to lower the shoulder down towards the mat and extend to press back up. So we are doing a single arm press up here. It's working the bicep, it's mainly focusing on the tricep, and obviously strengthening through those shoulders. We're going to go for 9 more and for 8. Keep this bottom oblique lifted. For 7 and for 6, 5. If you're not finding your tricep, put the weight towards the pinky and the ring finger. Last 3 and 2. Last 1, you're going to lower yourself down, you're going to hold it there for me. Not putting the shoulder all the way down onto the mat, just holding it at a hover for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, serratus still turned on underneath the supporting arm, 2, 1, small extension, and then pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, full extension for me, bringing that other arm back down onto the mat underneath you. Make sure that elbow is directly underneath you, and we're going to take it into a little bit of leg work. Grabbing a hold of your light weight, keeping your setup as it was before, making sure you haven't rolled onto that hip and you're not dropping that bottom oblique. We're going to take the weight and we're going to secure it behind the back of the knee. If you are struggling to get your weight or your water bottle to stay behind your knee, you can take it and you can just rest it on top of that leg and you do your exercises there. So you can decide, I'll leave that up to you. Keeping the feet together, staying lifted. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, we're going to squeeze that top leg back. As you squeeze that leg back, keep both your hip bones facing the front. I don't want the pelvis to drop back or roll back as you do this movement. You need to keep the pelvis nice and stable, and we are trying to look for strength and range in that top hip. Inhale and exhale. Let's go for 9 more, and 8, for 7, and 6, 5, and 4, 3, and 2. Last one, you hold it there, squeeze and engage, deep drawing in of those abdominals, stay lifted in this bottom oblique for last 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to keep your knee up and you're going to lift that foot in line with the knee for me. We're going to keep that squeeze on that weight, or you holding your weight on the top of the leg, and we're going to bring the leg towards the chest and kick it back. As you kick it back, hamstring is firing, glute max is engaged, glute med is firing. You are thinking of stretching this hip flexor in the front. So you really want to try and pull that leg back so you get it in line with your body, and then inhale to bring it back. Keep the height of that leg. That leg is traveling back and forth in the same horizontal plane. We go for 7 more, and for 6, stay lifted, for 5, stay stable through the trunk of the body, for 4, don't wave your chest back and forth, for 3 more, last 2, on your last one, you hold that leg back for me. We're going to lower the leg down in line with that body onto the floor and lift it back up for 10, and 9, keep the foot and the knee in the same plane, for 8, and 7, for 6, use the hip and the glute, for 5 more, and for 4, last 3, and for 2, last 1, you're going to hold it there for me for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can rest that leg down for me. You're going to remove the weight, placing it between the inside of the feet again. Stretch those legs out to the corner of the mat. We're going to take ourselves down to lie on the elbow and forearm. We're going to double sideline leg lift here. I like to open my hip a little bit to the ceiling. I'm resting more on my glute med again than on my hip bone. Compress, draw the belly button to the spine, lift your bottom oblique, inhale and exhale. We lift those legs up to the ceiling. We go for 10, and 9, for 8, keep compressing, 7, and more than just the oblique, you should feel that inner thigh working hard, especially if you're holding your weight. And we go for 4, and 3, for 2, and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can lower those legs down, bringing yourself back up. We're going to take that light weight, bring it back behind the same knee, and you guys are going to turn yourselves into 4-point kneeling. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Keep that back nice and long. We're going to go into our donkey kicks here. Make sure that your hands are not too wide out to the sides, not too far above you. They're directly underneath the shoulders. Make sure your knees are not tucked up too far so that your back is round. I want length in your spine. Neutral pelvis. Lift that belly button up away from the floor. Inhale to prepare, and exhale. We kick the leg up to the ceiling. Try to squeeze that weight there. If the weight is bothering you, leave it alone. Create your own resistance. And inhale back. We go for 9 more. And for 8, I'm looking for that neutral pelvis. 7, no arching backs. For 6 and 5, make sure that your leg that is moving up and down is staying parallel with the hip. So I don't want it turning out to the side as you kick up. You need to travel straight to the front, straight to the back, keeping that midline. Last 3 and 2, get ready to hold. Last 1, you're going to hold it there for me. Lift the belly button, squeeze the glute for 7 more. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're not done with that leg just yet. You can bring it back underneath the hip for me, and we're going to open it out to the side. Back is nice and long. Inhale and exhale. Lift as high as you can for 10. Again, the foot and the knee travel in the same plane. I don't want the foot lifting higher than the knee, and vice versa. We go for 7 more, and 6, 5. Avoid leaning into your supporting leg too heavily. For 3 more. Use the core for 2. Last one you hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From here, we're going to go into our leg circles. Pull that leg back and around, bringing it back into your midline, parallel with the body. Tuck under the hip, lift back to your fire hydrant, and repeat. Making a nice circling, smooth circling motion in that hip. We've got 7 to go. Resist with the core. For 6, try not let the torso wobble around here. For 5, keep it strong. And 4, thinking of only moving in the hip. For 3, and for 2. Last 1, and the thing about circles is we have to reverse the direction. We go up into our donkey kick, circle out and around to the side, and tuck back underneath. We go for 9 more. Squeeze that weight if you have it. For 8. And for 7, 6, keep that back long, 5, and 4, core tight, 3, and 2, last 1, bring it around, down, and underneath the hip. You can briefly remove that weight for me and press back into a child's pose. Stretching out those glutes just for a brief second. We've got 1 more exercise to do here before we change onto the opposite side. Again, you can decide if you want to do this with your light weight or do it weight free. It works either way. If you're doing it with your weight goes back behind the knee. I'm just going to turn so you guys can see what I'm doing. Hands under the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips. I'm going to lift that leg back up into that donkey kick, keeping it parallel with the body. I'm going to be working and turning on my obliques here. The opposite hand is going to go behind my head. As I bring my knee back into my chest here, I'm going to take my opposite elbow towards that knee, doing a small crunch in my 4-point kneeling, looking past that leg, and then I bring it back. What I'm focusing on doing here is still keeping that pelvis neutral as I bring the leg in. So I bring that leg in, keep the pelvis neutral, keep the back flat. So I'm thinking of sticking the buttocks back, and the rotation is only happening at my waist. As I go into that rotation, I feel my external oblique firing there. As I lift back into that extension, I feel my opposite internal oblique firing on the opposite side. Are you guys ready? Let's go. For 10 and 9, lift those belly buttons. For 8 and 7, for 6 more, and 5, last 4, and 3, for 2, and last 1. You can bring the hand down, bring the knee down, and press back to take a break in that child's pose. Right, from here we're going to turn it back onto the other side, and we have to start that whole sequence from the beginning. So again, starting with your setup, you're going to be seated, feet are stacked, knees are stacked, hips are stacked. Make sure that you are not rolling onto that hip bone, dropping this bottom oblique. Push the buttocks, push the pelvis and the sit bones back, lift through this bottom oblique, compress, navel to spine, turning those obliques on. Elbow directly underneath the shoulder for me. Make sure again you feel as though you're squeezing that imaginary small ball between the elbow and the hip, so you can feel those supporting and stabilizing muscles firing through your shoulder. You don't end up hanging into that shoulder. grabbing a hold of your light weight or creating your own resistance here. You're going to inhale to prepare. Elbow goes into the front of the rib cage, palm goes down to the midline of the body, and we externally rotate for 10. Right from the beginning. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Make sure that elbow isn't lifting away from the ribs. Last 3 and 2. Last 1. You hold that external rotation. Turn the palms to face front. Make sure that your wrist is nice and strong in a nice strong neutral position, and then we're going to punch to the ceiling. We go for 10 and 9, 8 and 7, for 6 more, and 5, 4, 3, 2. Last 1. Hold that arm long for me. We're going to lower it to hover above the mat and lift back up for 10 and 9. Resist with the core. 8. Don't let that chest wave back and forth as the arm lifts and lowers. Stability through the trunk of the body. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower that arm to a hover and hold it there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We reverse that movement for 10 and 9. Shoulder should be feeling it for 8 and 7, 6 and 5 more. Last 4 and for 3. Last 2. On your last 1, hold that arm up, tuck the elbow into the side, and we punch to the ceiling for 10 and 9, for 8, 7, 6. Remember, if your neck is feeling it, to look down for 3 more and 2. Last 1, you tuck that elbow into your side, turn your palm to face you, drop the weight in the hand down towards the midline of the body. We externally rotate for 10. Last time. And 9, for 8 and 7, 6 more, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can bring that arm down, bring the weight down. Remember, we're not done with that arm just yet. You're going to take that top hand out to the front of you. Make sure you can bend that elbow to a nice 90-degree angle, giving the bottom arm a break. You're either going to wrap it underneath the armpit or up on top of the shoulder. Fire that serratus to keep that working arm's shoulder out of your ear. Inhale to prepare. You can again stagger those legs just very slightly, and exhale. Bend the elbow to lower yourself down towards the mat and press straight back up. Make sure that you're not dropping that bottom oblique. You are just bending and extending to lower the shoulder down towards the mat and press it back up away. Same principle applies for a normal push-up. You only bend the elbow as much as you can, keeping the strength and the stability in the shoulder. So if you're losing that, make the bend a little bit smaller for me. Let's go for 4 and 3, for 2. Last 1, we're going to bend and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extend very slightly, and then we pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to take a hold of those light weights, or one light weight. You're going to bring it between the feet, extend the legs out to the corner of the mat. Bottom arm is going to go underneath the head. Top arm is going to be resting down in front of you. Again, you're going to open the hip very slightly for me, lifting this bottom oblique and engaging that top oblique. You want to try to keep equal length between both for me. Inhale and exhale. You're going to feel that inner thigh fire as we lift and lower the legs. For 9 more and 8. Compress and deep drawing in for 7 and 6. 5 more and for 4. Last 3 and for 2. Get ready to hold. Last 1, we hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can lower those legs down. Bring yourself back up into that sideline position for me. We're going to take the weight and place it behind that top leg's knee. Again, if you can't get it behind the knee, you rest it on top of the leg, or you can create your own resistance. Push those sit bones back. Make sure you're not dropping this bottom oblique. Squeeze the imaginary ball, and we start with our clams. Feet stay together. Squeeze that top leg back. Keep your hips facing the front, and inhale to lower. We go for 9 more and for 8, 7, and for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, get ready to hold. Last one, we squeeze back and we hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep the height of the knee. You're going to lift that foot to join it, keeping both the knee and the foot in the same plane. We're going to move the knee in towards the chest and then kick that leg back. Remember, kick that leg back, firing that glute max, feeling the glute med and feeling that stretch through your obliques and through those hip flexors all the way down the leg. So pull that leg back as far as you can without dropping the chest down towards the floor. You want to keep that nice neutral lift in the trunk of the body. Inhale back and exhale. We kick for 9 more. And 8. Keep those legs up nice and high for 7. And squeeze through those hips for 6. 5. Belly button draws to spine. 4. Keeping the pelvis neutral for 3. And for 2. Last one, you hold that leg back for me, keeping it nice and long. We're going to lower the leg down onto the mat and lift it back up for 10. And 9. 8. And for 7. 6 more. 5. 4. 3. 2. And last one, you're going to lift that leg up and hold it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can bring the leg in for me, move the weight if you need to. We're going to turn it into 4-point kneeling. Remember, hands are underneath shoulders, knees are underneath hips. Lift the belly button up away from the floor. We're going to start with our donkey kick. Squeeze into that weight if you're holding it, otherwise create your own resistance. Inhale and exhale. Lift that leg up as high as you can. Don't lean into that supporting leg too heavily. Lift the belly button to the spine and inhale to bring it back. I do not want you to hinge or to fold in that lower back. The movement is only happening at the hip. The pelvis stays neutral. The lower back stays supported. We go for 6 more. And for 5, look to those legs. 4, make sure that leg is traveling parallel, up and down, not waving out to the side just yet. For 2 more. Last one, we hold. Lift the belly button and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You bring the leg back underneath the hip. Don't drop it down just yet. We lift into our fire hydrant. So we go for 10 and 9. Resist with the core. 8 and 7. Don't lean into that supporting leg too much for 6 and 5, 4 and 3, for 2. Get ready to hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And from here, we circle that leg back and around and underneath the hip. So we're not done just yet. Here we go for 9 more. Lift, circle back, around and tuck. For 8, lift and circle. For 7, lift and circle. For 6, lift and circle. 5 more. And for 4, keep that core tight. For 3, and for 2, last one, you tuck underneath the hip. Not done just yet. We have to reverse those circles. We kick the leg back up, circle it out, around, and under. We go for 9 more. Kick up, out, around, and tuck under. For 8, and 7, keep the tummy tight. For 6, resist with the core. For 5, and 4 more. 3, work the range in the hips. For 2, and last one, you can bring that leg back under, remove the weight if it's there, press back to give those glutes a break. We're not done just yet. One more exercise here, working both those glutes and the obliques. If you can, weight goes back behind the knee. If not, just leave it alone. There's no problem with that. We're going to keep Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Lifting that opposite leg back up towards the ceiling. We're going to take the opposite arm to that leg, bring it behind the head. Lift the belly button. Remember, we're working the obliques here as well. Back is nice and flat. And we rotate as we bring that knee in. Opposite elbow, opposite knee, look past that leg and lift back up into extension. We go for 9 more. And for 8. And 7. And for 6. Last 5. And 4. 3. Keep the pelvis neutral. For 2. And last 1. You can bring the hand down, bring that leg down, remove the weight for me, press back to a child's pose. We're going to take it into a plank. We're going to start with that first exercise that we did, finding that scapular depression and stabilization. 4-point kneeling, knees are underneath the hips, hands are underneath the shoulders. And again, just double check this. So a lot of people tend to have them a little bit too wide or a little bit too far forward. You want to make sure they're directly underneath the shoulders. If you have a mirror or a window where you can see your reflection, that's generally ideal so that you can see what you're doing. You inhale, you exhale, press up away from the mat, round the back, sliding those shoulder blades apart as much as you can. Hold that activation for me, and then add the activation of the lower traps. Pull the shoulders down the back. It should feel really strong. I'm even shaking here a little bit, busy holding this activation, and inhale to release. Let's do twice more. Exhale, press up and up and up and up. Slide those shoulder blades apart, pull them down the back, hold that activation for me, and then inhale to release. And you should feel those lats start to fire and engage as well. One more time. Inhale, exhale, press up away from the floor, slide the shoulders down the back. Hold it there for me. From here, we're going to extend one leg at a time. And before we get into that, I just want to make a note. The same thing can be done down on elbows and forearms. So if it's feeling too much in your wrists, you can do this on elbows and forearms. If you suffer with your lower back, you can also do this in a modified plank. So you can still focus on the exact same things, just modifying it for your body. Right. Just getting the timer there. Let's go. From here, press up. Slide the shoulders down the back. We extend one leg at a time. Tuck the tailbone, scoop those abs in, extend the opposite leg, and your timer has started. And you want to make sure you don't lose that. If you feel like you're losing it, take it down, get that activation again, and repeat the exercise. 10 seconds is already gone. Lift the belly button, slide the shoulders down the back. Make sure you're not winging your scapula. Make sure you're not rounding that mid to upper back. 30 seconds is up. Lift the belly button. Squeeze those glutes for me. Make sure you're not sticking the bum up to the ceiling. Tuck. Watch yourself. You have a mirror or a window where you can see your reflection nearby. Here we go. 15 seconds. Coming into our countdown. Elbows are soft. Feel the muscles in the arms gripping. And there goes your timer. Knees can come in and down. And press back into your child's pose.